As we wrap up this year, I'm so grateful for the storytellers, changemakers, and to you, the listeners, who make this podcast possible. And as a special thank you, I'm sharing the code THEPACKER200 for a special discount on registration for our upcoming East Coast Produce Expo. Here's to more conversations that inspire us in the new year. Welcome to the Packer Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Herrick, and I sit down with leaders and disruptors in the fresh produce industry who are reimagining how we grow, move, and deliver fresh fruits and vegetables in a changing world. And joining me today is Hashim Amin, head of grocery and retail for North America at Uber. Thanks for joining me.
Great to be here. Good to meet you.
I'm so excited to have you on. Obviously, there's been a little bit of news lately about fresh produce delivery and things like that, not necessarily just Uber, but the one that I think comes to mind Uber news wise is your recent partnership with Albertsons, offering Uber One to 30 million loyalty members. So talk about how Uber leverages its platform with major grocers to create an different, more compelling consumer experience.
Yeah, our partnership with Albertsons is a great example of how we're, really trying to redefine the grocery experience. We're bringing Uber One perks to more than 30 million, members, like you said. So we're merging the best of both worlds. The strength of, a top tier grocer like Albertsons with Uber scale. Our convenience and on demand, tech and reach. And when we think about these partnerships, it's really about building, deeper, stickier customer relationship and really extending the ability for Albertsons to get those, favorite groceries to their customers as well as new customers as well.
So yeah, I love that you talked about consumer expectations because I feel like that's going to be probably a theme that comes up quite a bit in our conversation today. So, talk to me about kind of how you and Uber, and then obviously partnering with the retail partners that you have, I guess strengthen that value proposition for convenience, right? For fresh, because I feel like fresh produce and groceries are like the next step for that convenience. So, talk about that, and then like, what do you think the impact of these convenience and delivery systems are going to have on like traditional grocery shopping?
Yeah, the what we're finding is, our business is highly incremental to the grocers that we're working with. And the reason it's incremental is when you go to your grocery store, whether it's Albertsons is a good example, but there's tons of others. You're usually going there and you're doing your stock up shopping. So you're doing your weekly or bi-weekly or monthly shopping. Where we play that really interesting incremental role is, you've done your shopping, but you need 3 things or 4 things that you forgot to pick up, or you have an unexpected, family member visiting or some friends visiting, and you want to order something for a meal or 2 meals, and you need a can of soup, or you need some vegetables and some seafood or meat, and those 5 or 6 things that you need, that's where we play that, really incremental but key role in getting those things to you for your last minute need. So usually you have friends coming over or like family coming over, and we can get that stuff to you within 30 minutes. And so that's why we have such a unique sort of incremental position that we're able to serve for our merchants and customers.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and may not be what you want to hear, but I will tell you, I don't necessarily use delivery providers for fresh produce. Like, I don't even like to do pickup and things like that. And part of the reason is so self-serving, and people are gonna roll their eyes when they're listening to this, is because like if I order bananas, there is like a specific hue of banana. Like, it's a chartreuse, it's a greenish yellow, and like I want my banana to be a certain way, and I don't it's not that I don't trust the workers, because I do, but I feel like it's something very personal to me that I want. So speaking to someone like me and understanding understanding there are probably more consumers like that that have like very real perceptions and concerns about fresh produce and getting fresh produce delivered to them to their specifications. Talk about that. Like, how do you build trust with things like that that consumers like to pick up and smell and everything when they're buying? Like, how do you deliver that experience to their homes?
So it's a great point, and you're definitely not the only one. There's a lot of people who are very specific with, how they want their avocados or how they want their apples or pears, and so we've invested a lot of time, energy, and effort into really serving up. Do you want your bananas ripe? Do you like them firm? Do you like them softer? And so customers can actually toggle and pick what they want, and we're able to go and pick those. And trust is really earned through consistency. It's you look for six things. You want those six things to show up. You want the exact things that you wanted to show up. And so we'll use AI to make sure the things that you're searching for in the experience are available when our couriers go pick them up. We will work with merchants to highlight our produce. So for us, a big part of this has just been driving awareness. People telling people that we have fresh produce, telling people we have the pantry staples, seafood and meat. And so we've run a lot of programs like Fresh Tuesdays. Every Tuesday we share all our produce offers. You should definitely check it out. 30% off for Uber One members. We have something called a fresh guarantee. So even if you have specified you wanted a specific type of banana or avocado, and we pick it, but it's not what you were looking for, we'll guarantee it and we'll make it right. Looking at smarter replacement powered by AI. So we will learn very quickly that you didn't like that. And then we'll make sure the next time we get as close to what you're looking for as well.
And I guess, to your point, I mean, there are times where I've been in a store and I've seen the banana display in that store, and they're not that shade of color that I want. And so being able to both have that understanding, does the consumer really needs bananas for X, Y, and Z, and they don't want you to not include those, or like someone like me who might be extremely picky and maybe we just don't get the bananas and I try to get them later, or you would likely know too if you're working with these retailers when their deliveries are, so you might be able to understand when those are coming available. But yeah, that's interesting, and I think it's great that you're using technology to both understand each individual consumer as an individual, but also kind of deploy that in the future. So I think that's really great. So let's talk beyond just facilitating delivery. Let's talk about kind of, how you in your position, how are you seeing and shaping Uber in terms of the fresh produce industry and grocery industry? Like, how are you driving change, and how does fresh produce fit into that, I guess?
Yeah, we find that fresh produce is really important because it drives not only drives trust when you get it right, but it drives repeat. Once we can deliver your fresh, produce, or whether it's your seafood or chicken for your barbecue, quickly and reliably, you'll use this again for those last minute needs that we serve. And so we put a lot of emphasis and effort into getting a lot of the basics right. The other area is really working with the merchants, and so we'll partner with them to understand, what is it that they're doing on their 1P channel, and how we can share best practices, and we'll share what's working for us, and they'll share what's working for them. So it's a collective journey. It's not something where we're doing just ourselves. The merchants have been doing this for a very long time, and there's absolutely lots that we can learn from them, and that's why having those deep strategic partnerships is so critical. The other thing that's really unique for us is we have a very young customer. We have a young urban customer who's really in the city, and so a lot of these customers are just usually out of reach for the grocery store. And so rather than them going to a local convenience store or local shop, we can go get that range of product that they're looking for across produce and bring it to them, and also market brands to customers that may may not have seen those brands or work with those brands previously. So we're able to do both of those things as well really effectively.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, I'm sure you're understanding this more than anyone, within the fresh produce industry and even within grocery stores, like a chain, each store might have an individual consumer profile within those different epicenters of cities. And so being able to understand that better, work with them and kind of get their feedback too, I think is really interesting. So I feel like if I have you on this podcast, we have to talk about some of the news lately. So obviously, Amazon made a big announcement last week. So I don't want you to talk about that, but I want you to talk about kind of what you're how you're positioning Uber to compete, and some of the strategies that you might be utilizing with Uber to really kind of go head to head with Amazon in that space.
Yeah, I think, where I mentioned earlier, where we play that unique role is in the top up category. So we're not really competing with, the direct or stock up shopping that you're doing for your week or your month. And I think that's the biggest difference that, we found, even, with our merchants that we work with. We're playing that last minute, real convenience need for products that usually tend to be a smaller basket. And so a basket is usually a third or a quarter of the size of your weekly shopping as a result. Um, will they, can do they have the same coverage and breadth of assortment we do? They don't, because when you look at the marketplace that we serve, we work with all grocers, all retailers, all convenience stores across the US. And so the range that we're able to provide just by default of being a marketplace is generally greater as well. So I think we provide consumers more choice. Again, with that last minute top up need, not the stock up need. And so we're able to play that very unique role where we sort of carved out our own space.
Yeah. That makes sense. And thank you for answering that question. I had a couple of these on here and I thought, I'm not sure, but I was hoping that you'd be a good sport. And maybe these are the easy questions because we're almost into the fresh take questions, which I haven't heard yet if those are the hard or easy ones, but I'll let you decide once we get there. So let's talk key strategic advantages and long-term vision. What are you doing at Uber to disrupt some of Amazon's dominance in the grocery and fresh produce delivery space? And I know you've said a little bit of that already, but I'm sure you've got some more thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think it's all those things we talked about. It's really being consistent. It's making sure when customers shop you for those 3, 4 items, you make sure you get them those 3, 4 items. It's then making sure you get them those 3, 4 items at the quality they're looking for, and doing it every single time they shop you for that last minute need. And so it's usually, while it doesn't sound as fun or as sexy, it's getting the fundamentals right each and every time is super important. The second area is really leveraging technology and AI as much as we can. So, pulling a lot of the catalog files and saying, okay, what's likely to be out of stock or what's not likely to be out of stock, and how can we make sure we push the right products to consumers in a way that they can find what they're looking for. So that is always like a learning and iteration that we're driving both with the merchant and looking at so consumer habits. Being a young customer and being urban, we tend to find that our shopping is usually happening after their peak hours. So think about your grocery store; it's usually in the mornings, early afternoons. Ours is more late afternoons, early evenings into the late evening, and so we're able to really drive demand in times where it's typically quiet for a grocery store, which makes us a hugely strategic partner to them, but also allows us to do some fun things and experimenting. Is really running programs like Fresh Tuesday. It's really making sure we're working on we're using AI to see, can we build a customer shopping basket really easily by you just typing in your key items you're looking for. So there's different areas we're exploring from an innovation perspective that will make that shopping for those 3 4 items you're looking for quickly, even faster and even easier, as we go along.
That's interesting. And I think consistency, although you said it's not sexy. I mean, I am putting on my shopper hat here, but that's what I would want. You want that consistent, you want the thing that you ordered to come the way that you ordered it or you expected. Um,
Exactly.
and being able to deliver that over and over again, obviously then turns into repeat shoppers. So that makes perfect sense. So let's talk 2026 and beyond. You don't have to give away everything, but let's talk about, what you see for the future. How are you planning to innovate and continue to adapt strategies for 2026 to stay ahead of the curve? And I realize some of that, consumers as their tastes are changing and things like that. So, let's talk about how you're trying to stay ahead of the curve in 2026 and beyond with Uber.
Yeah, great question. I mean, when you look at our delivery business, it represents nearly half of Uber's gross bookings now. We connect grocers to over 180 million active platform users globally. No one can deliver what we're doing at our scale, and no one else is as ready as we are for that last minute moment need that you're looking for. And as we look at our loyalty program, that's an area where continuing to deepen, in terms of value we're providing to our customers. We're going to continue to invest in that. We believe that making sure we're consistent, like I talked about, so we can continue to drive repeat and trust with consumers. Getting that fresh produce and seafood pantry staple merchandising mix right is another area we're looking at. So everyone has their own very specific needs. Think of your own experience when you go to a grocery store. You know exactly where you're going, what you're looking for, your favorite aisles. How do we make sure we're serving those up to our consumers in the way that feels really natural for them? And then finally, it's the power of the platform. I mean, we have an incredible platform on mobility, with our rides business. And there's a lot of areas there that we can really lean into because it's just really complementary. So we can, whether it's getting, if you're going to a busy store, how can we partner with consumers to get you there, if you want to do your shopping in person, rather than doing it via the app. And the data we're able to sort of leverage, the same consumer data. If we know you go to you get an Uber to your favorite brand and making sure that favorite brand is available, when you're opening to shop. And so there's tons of things we can do across the power of our platform, and that's an area we're going to continue to work on and bring those things closer to together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the experience that I have at one particular retailer they're known for suggestions. And I know this is something that you had mentioned earlier. Just kind of making sure that understanding what consumers maybe their habits and that informs maybe something they might be interested in. But I think that's another really unique thing is that you're learning all these things about your shoppers that you can go, well, if they like this and they like this in the fresh produce space, we think they'll probably like this other item. And I think that's always a great thing. So yeah, I think it is interesting because consumers expect a lot, and I'm sure you feel that more than anyone. But kind of using technology and kind of continuing to push forward, I think is a great thing.
Exactly. Another area we found, which you might find interesting, is essentially the deli food items that you get at your grocery store. So a lot of people, love their sushi from their favorite grocery store, or they love their freshly made sandwiches. We're also able to offer those up to customers where you may not want to go get your produce, but you may want to get your favorite sandwich or your sushi, and so we can also deliver that directly. And when we look at grocery stores in particular, everyone is trying to expand their share of stomach. And so, really being able to be part of that innovation and think about how we can get more fresh produce, more of that seafood, meat, your pantry staples to your customers, so they can make their food at home and get those groceries faster is something that is super exciting and we really enjoy doing.
Yeah, well, I'd love to continue to have conversations with you and hear more, especially since I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like the space continues to innovate so much and it's just like unbelievable where we are and then obviously where we're going to go, which you probably know a little bit more than me, but it's amazing. So well, that's kind of the end of either the tough or easy questions. I like I said, I've yet to hear what people's preference are, but these are our fresh take questions. So hopefully these will be fun for you. They're supposed to be fun, but just a little icebreaker. So, um, what's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Hmm. My wife and I own a ranch just outside of Austin, where I'm based. And so people are always surprised to learn that we have rescue horses, we have farm animals. And so whenever colleagues, co-workers or merchants or people we work with learn about that, they're always super surprised, which I find funny, but we absolutely love it. And it's a really big passion of ours.
That's interesting. Well, I'll have to hear more about that. Um, So maybe that answer dovetails to the next one, which is if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would your dream job be?
Probably won't be as exciting as you're hoping, but just traveling. I absolutely love traveling the world. I feel that we're so busy with work and with jobs, we never get to go see those places that we really want to do. And it would be spending time at the ranch, but also going out and seeing other countries we've yet to visit. So they're the two passions I have.
I don't think that's a bad answer. Actually, I should preface this with that for everyone that's been a part of this already, and then anyone that future guests, like there's no bad answer, there's no wrong answer. I just wasn't sure if you were gonna say, "Oh, well, I'd be a rancher." So that's what I wasn't sure about. And with it, when I ask that question, sometimes I get some pretty unpredictable answers. But I think travel's a great one. I like that. Sign me up. I'm on board.
Yeah, a ranch is probably one step too far. It's really hard work.
That is it.
I've tried it. It's exhausting and tiring. So huge kudos to the folks that are able to do that, and we get some awesome people that come and help us. I
Yeah.
don't think I could do it myself.
Yeah, because the need for animals, it doesn't end. They don't work a 9 to 5 either. So
It's constant. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So what's a random topic that you unrelated, I should say unrelated to fresh produce that you could give a passionate TED talk about?
Probably AI. Ever since this has become such a buzzword, I've gone down a rabbit hole watching videos on YouTube and reading articles and reading books, and so I feel I have enough knowledge and information now to probably give a TED talk on it. I would never say I'm as good as some of those folks who are actually building the platforms, but I feel I could really bridge that gap between people who just want to understand it more, and some of the stuff that's out there and actually working already in different companies.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's needed, right? I mean, it's a little bit. I feel like the overall conversation has changed where like a few years ago, if you said the phrase chat GPT, it was like half people were joking and like messing up the letters just to be funny. I feel like things have changed, but I still think people need more information and like you said, kind of bridging that gap from, what it is to what it can do. And I think it's that what it can do part that I think everyone's still learning. And I mean, yes, the technology continues to innovate. So what it can do now isn't what it can do, 5 months from now. But anyway, no, I think that you might have to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, so then last question. What is something wildly underrated outside of fresh produce that you think more people should pay attention to?
I think that the thing that we really surprised a lot of folks about was Black Friday and during the Thanksgiving holiday period. We onboarded a lot of retailers onto our platform. So think of your Best Buys of the world, Dick's Sporting Goods, and we looked at a lot of our search data and we saw people searching for AirPods and people searching for iPads and laptops. And then when we onboarded these retailers, we saw there was incredible demand for those items that I think people vastly different from produce and your pantry staples, but super exciting. And I had no idea how many people were just losing their AirPods that need them last minute. And so it's been incredibly exciting to really grow our broader retail business in addition to some of the fresh produce that we're also selling.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I think if that gets more people on the app and using the app, then I mean, selfishly, my hope is they'll find their way to the fresh produce side of it and use your services for that. But I am, like I said, I'm a little biased. But no, that's really interesting. And I've seen a few squashed AirPods in on the street, so I know it happens.
Exactly.
Well, that's all the questions I had. This has been an enjoyable conversation. And, if you'd like to come back on in a few months, if you've got some new innovations, you're welcome to come back and talk technology. I find this absolutely fascinating.
Would love to. Yeah, keep me in mind as you want to discuss platforms and AI and fresh produce. But great being here,
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. Well, that's it for today's episode, brought to you by the Packer Produce Market Guide and Farm Journal. Don't forget, if you like what you see and hear, we'd love it if you took a moment to rate our episodes, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. And thank you for all you do to keep fresh produce moving from field to table. Thanks so much. Bye.
See ya.